I'm Vanessa. I'm a licensed mental health counselor associate, currently supervised and working towards full licensure. I'm a mom and a therapist and a yoga teacher. And outside of those professions and things, I'm also a CrossFitter, and yeah. I see individuals, mostly 18 and up, and I help folks. A lot of my clients come to me who are working with anxiety, stress, burnout, overwhelm, depression, and some things that really help me hone in on those specific issues is the way I work with folks, which is a combo of cognitive behavioral therapy and somatic therapy. I combine these and integrate these modalities with the CBT, which is sort of like a top-down processing, working with the brain and the thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, and then somatic therapy to see the actual information that the body is storing. So those are some of the ways that I like to integrate both, and that's been it's felt really fruitful lately. I love this work because I have an empathetic nature. That's one of my strengths, and I've learned a lot just from utilizing that in grad school and my internship. So some people come into this work with that strength or that skill set. Could have also been an adaptive coping mechanism as a kid, but learning how I get to enjoy being in the presence of people and feeling the honor to be trusted by them. And not that I need this feedback, but I will get people that'll say, wow, good question, or that actually made me think differently, or, oh, that really helps. And that's been really nice to see. But again, it's not required. It just is like an extra icing on the cake when I get to see people making progress, even when it's not linear, but to just trusting the space to get into the nitty-gritty and the ugly parts. Yeah. It clicked for me, actually. I started going into being interested in how people work and human behavior. And then I started working with kids and doing behavioral therapy, and that really honed in kind of the way my mind thinks about behavior and people. And more recently, after 6 years in private practice and some time in community mental health, I was trained in somatic movement, practitioner, therapy, whatever you call that certification. And that actually bridged the gap between my therapy clients and my somatic yoga practice. And now it's really clicking that I can bring my two skills and careers together, and people are really receiving it. And it's really great to deliver that and let people know what it's about, and for them to be open to trying something new. And honestly, just that they know that it's the relationship that drives the success of our work together. Yeah, lately it's been clicking. It's been really, really great to see. Somatic therapy for me means we are listening to the body, and I call it more of that bottom-up processing of our somatic. Our soma is our being and the limits between our spirit and the outside world. That gets a little woo-woo, but I can bring it down to our fascia is a sensory organ in our body that tells us where we end and others begin. And that fascia and many other tissues and cells in our body are holding on to so many memories that we've stored from childhood and even before that. And so that is also the raw data that's not being manipulated by the stories. So it tells us things that we remember, and that's where I will guide you through some visualizations and really take you back home to your body to listen to. I call it wouldn't be the truth. It's more like just how memories were processed, and we get to unravel those. I know a lot of people hear about things to improve mental well-being as getting enough sleep, hydrating, movement, nourishment. All of those things are important. So I'd like to give something a little different, which is part of the work that I do with people is encouraging the space to pause between a stimulus and your reaction. That's where a lot of us can feel like not in control. And we actually do have a lot of agency. And I encourage folks to empower themselves to slow down that space and increase the gap between feeling an emotion and responding immediately. That might mean like taking a breath. It might mean labeling, might mean grounding yourself, but any moment in between stimulus and reaction is you gaining control and knowing that you have control. Not in a controlling OCD type way, but just empowering you to know that you have a choice. I say this knowing I struggle with it myself, but nourishing your body, whether that means with actual food or movement, and I say movement because people often have just different relationships with exercise and eating, but just knowing like moving your body in any way, in an intentional way, is helpful. And getting outside. Again, that's something that I'm constantly having to remind myself to do, but fortunately my kids like playgrounds, so we get out there, and it's hard in the Pacific Northwest, but we need to get outside, get some fresh air, and nourish your body with movement, with food. Take care of yourself. You deserve it. I feel like when people think about anxiety in broad strokes, or people who are living with anxiety, is that it's all negative, or that they're always thinking about themselves in a negative view. And it can seem really cut and dry, and I just don't see it as black and white. Sometimes people with anxiety might have a more like deceptive, positive self-view that can lead to self-sabotage because they believe they're almost too positive or believe everything's gonna work out without putting in the work. So a question I like to open up for folks in a really open-ended way is, how is that serving you? And really using discernment to address how the behaviors, emotions, and thought patterns are actually serving them in the long term versus in a more instant gratification type of way. And that opens it up for more conversation. Big can of worms sometimes. Body image for everybody is so individualized. We learn so many different things about bodies, and unfortunately sometimes that creates a really negative impact on how we view ourselves. So for a lot of people, I like for you to think about questioning how you're talking to yourself about your body, and maybe the thoughts that you have when you witness other people living in bodies. You might notice thoughts that are judgmental. And first, I always encourage a mindfulness practice. That's sort of the pillar of where we start with the work we do. Notice without judgment, and even with a little bit of compassion. It starts with acceptance. Please know that no matter what your body looks like or does for you, it is deserving of nourishment, whether it's movement or food. And notice if the acceptance or love for your body, of your own love and acceptance for your body, is conditional. Like, I will eat this when I do this, or look like this when I get a six-pack, when I can do these things. Those conditions are not fair. No matter how you live in your body, you deserve fairness, acceptance, love, joy. That's it.